Did you know Ricky James Matthews got into a lot of trouble on the mean streets of Buffalo? Drugs, theft, and teenage angst all led to a judge ordering him to serve in the U.S. Naval Reserve. He lied about his age to avoid Vietnam, and all that time he played in several jazz ensembles, but failed to show up for reserve duty. And that's when they ordered James to go to Vietnam. Ricky James Matthews found that idea a little too super freaky, and so he fled to Toronto. After Ricky crossed the border, he went to look for another band. So here's an interesting story from Toronto. Ricky James Matthews was assaulted outside a nightclub. Levon Helm and Garth Hudson would come to his rescue. They would both later have success in a group called The Band. They rescued Rick James that night. And this encounter led to Ricky meeting Neil Young. Due to their styles of music, it's hard to imagine that Neil Young and Rick James would be in a band together. But they were. The group was called the Mynah Birds, complete with Ricky James Matthews, Neil Young, and members that would later go on to form Steppenwolf. Now, James had yet to meet his heroes, Marvin Gaye and Stevie Wonder. But that would eventually happen in Detroit. They say that Stevie Wonder had a sit-down heart-to-heart with Ricky James Matthews and basically told him his name was too long. Stevie's suggestion was, just call yourself Ricky James. And that's how the punk-funk icon Rick James was born. We know that Super Freak, Give It To Me Baby, wild parties and women, drugs and alcohol would all eventually follow for Rick James. But before we go, a little more on the military madness that followed James. So here goes. The Mynah Birds break up. Neil Young buys a hearse and forms Buffalo Springfield. Rick James turns himself into the FBI. The Navy hands him a sentence of 5 months of hard labor for running. After only 6 weeks at the Brooklyn Naval Brigade, James escapes, spends 6 more months as a fugitive, and finally surrenders again. Luckily, his cousin and attorney pleaded the court-martial from 5 years of hard labor to 5 months. Turns out Chappelle was accurate. "I'm Rick James, bitch," was a thing from the very beginning. Did you know?